Hello students. So now we are going to start with the chapter ratio and proportion. And let me start by giving you the difference between the ratio, what is ratio and how proportion is different from ratio. Ratio is very simple. We have been studying in the previous classes. If I write 1:2, this is ratio. And when I compare two different ratios, okay, for example, if I write 1:2 is same as 50 is to 100, okay. Now I'm comparing two ratios. This is one ratio, this is another ratio, and when I'm comparing two ratios, it is called proportion. I hope you could get the difference between the two. So in this video, we are going to only talk about proportion, right? And let's understand what is proportion. So let me talk in general now. If A is to B is same as C is to D, then A, B, C, D are in proportion. Now, you will find it very interesting that the product, the multiplication of these middle terms is equal to the product of the extremes. So which are the middle ones? We also call them means. So means or middle ones are B and C, and the extremes are A and D. So A into D is equal to B into C. Very important, because lot of multiple choice questions can come only from this. And let me see whether this is correct or not. And we are going to apply here. So what are the middle terms? Are 2 into 50 is equal to, what are the extreme ones? 1 and 100. So 1 into 100. Now you can see that the product of the middle one is equal to the product of the extreme ones. I hope this was clear to you. So this is one which is very important and you should remember. Now, the second thing what we are going to talk about is continued proportion. Okay, continued proportion. What is the meaning of continued proportion? Let's see. So I wrote 1:2 is the same as 50 is to 100. I missed out lot of numbers between 2 and 50, and so this is not a continued proportion. But when I say that the number 1:2 is the same as 2:4, then 1 to 4 are in continued proportion. So if I say that 1, 2, 4, and then if I say 8, 16, all these are in continued proportion. And what I mean by continued proportion is, look here, 1/2 is same as 2/4 is same as 4/8, and it is same as 8/16, and so forth. You can continue to write the numbers, and so these numbers are in continued proportion. So if I have to write in general that if A, B, and C are in continued proportion, that simply means that A is to B is the same as B is to C. Okay, so if the three numbers A, B, C are in continued proportion, then A is to B is the same as B is to C. 1 is to 2 is the same as 2 is to 4. That simply means by the rule, product of means is equal to the product of extremes. I can say that B into B is equal to AC. I hope it was easy to understand. The product of the means is equal to the product of the extreme. So this implies B square is equal to AC. Very important. Lot of times the question begins that A, B, C are in continued proportion. And that simply means that you have to understand that B square is equal to AC. All right. So now we are going to talk about something which is asked in the questions. And let me start by telling you that if A upon B is equal to C upon D. Now I'm talking about any proportion. Okay, this is not a continued proportion. I'm talking about any proportion. Okay, now let's see, there are some interesting properties of this. If A upon B is equal to C upon D, just like 1 is to 2 is the same as 50 is to 100. Okay, so the first thing, very important, and this is called invertendo. What is the meaning of the word invertendo? It says that if A upon B is equal to C upon D, then if you invert them, which means B upon A is equal to D upon C. Important one. So the first property is called invertendo, right? So let's keep writing here. 1 is to 2 is same as, say, 8 is to 16. Okay, I'm not writing continued proportion. I'm just writing any proportion, and this should fit here. So now if 1 is to 2 is the same as 8 upon 16, I'm sure if you invert them, 2 is to 1 is same as 16 is to 8. Right? The ratio remains the same. 2 is to 1 is the same as 16 is to 8. So this property is called invertendo. Second one. If A is to B is same as C is to D, then by the property alternando, these are not difficult names, alternando. What does this mean? That if I don't take the next one B, but if I take the next one next to B, C, which means alternate one, then if I say that A upon C is equal to B upon D, right? I am taking the alternate one, not the B is to B, not the B, but I'm taking now, say, A upon C, A is to C is the same as B is to D. So let's see whether this one fits in here. Okay. All right. So I said 1 is to 8 is the same as 2 is to 16. Look very carefully. I am saying the alternate one. Let's take this together with 1. So 1 is to 8 is the same as 2 is to 16. Is this correct or not? Is this perfect? This is perfectly correct, right? 1 is to 8 is the same as 2 is to 16. And this is called alternando. The third one is called componendo. What is componendo? Componendo is that if in this I add +1 on this side and +1 on this side, I can do that, right? I can add +1, so I'll have to add +1. In that case, if I take the LCM, this becomes A plus B upon B is equal to C plus D upon D, right? Should I try it here? 1 is to 2 is the same as 8 is to 16. Let's try it. So A plus B, which means 1 plus 2 upon B, which is 2, is this equal to 8 plus 16 upon D, which is 16? Let's see this. 2 plus 1, 3 upon 2, and this is 24 upon 16. Let's simplify this. 8 3s are 24, 8 2s are 16. So you can see that the ratio is same. So hence componendo is perfectly applicable for this ratio. The next one is called dividendo, right? The next one is called dividendo. And what dividendo means, that if I subtract -1 here and -1 here, then A minus B upon B is equal to C minus D upon D. All right. You can use this same example, put in the values, and you will be happy to see that this is also applicable, right? So A minus B upon B is also equal to C minus D upon D. And the last and the most important from the question's point of view is that when you divide this one and this one, what happens? If I divide this componendo and dividendo, two equations, if I divide, then this B gets cancelled, D gets cancelled, and what I get is A plus B upon A minus B is equal to C plus D upon C minus D. And this is the most important property of the proportion, which is used in most of the questions. And to make you understand, let me take the same example. So this says A plus B, so I'm going to do 1 plus 2. Okay, and it says A minus B, so I'm going to do 1 minus 2. All right, on the right hand side, C plus D, which means 8 plus 16. All right, keep your eyes here. This is C and D. So 8 plus 16 and 8 minus 16. Let me see whether the left hand side is equal to right hand side. So this is 3 upon minus 1. And this is 24 upon minus 8. And I'm sure you can see that this is also 3 upon minus 1. Hence, this is componendo and dividendo. So this property is called componendo and dividendo. So componendo and dividendo, we divide, and what we get is componendo and dividendo, and one of the most important one. We will do a lot of questions in the next video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understood it. See you in the next one.